Okay. Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. I am Rafaela and I'm here today with another video and I've got a special somebody in the building today. We've got Mr. Jeremiah, Mr. Drip,
Try.
Ohene. So he's such a hard man to get a hold of. So thank you so much for taking the time to be here today. I really, really appreciate it.
Pleasure.
But for all the viewers out there, do you want to introduce yourself? Who are you? What is your brand? What do you do?
Okay, so I'm Jeremiah. I own a business called Jcorp Films. We also have Jcorp Wedding Films. So we pretty much do video production. We do corporate videos, branded videos, a lot of wedding films. So we're a bit of a television production, filmmaking background. So we just put all that together in everything that we do. So yeah, in a nutshell, we're filmmakers.
I love that. We have so much to dive into today. But you know what? I like to make my guests feel very, very relaxed so that they can talk freely.
All right.
So I thought we could do a little quick game. So basically, just reply with the first thing that comes to your mind. It's like a
Sure.
would you rather
Okay.
questions. Okay, ready?
Yep.
Chicken or turkey?
Oh, okay.
No, you think?
Fair enough.
Apple juice or orange juice?
Apple juice.
Banku or kenke?
Thank you.
Quality time or words of affirmation?
Quality time.
Would you rather never be able to travel ever again or never be able to watch a movie ever again?
It's a tough one.
Yeah, for you.
I have to travel because see family and stuff, do business. You know what I mean? So
You'd
I
rather.
guess you have to sacrifice watching movies and you have to make the movies. Just watch them.
That's a different thing. Okay, light soup or okra soup?
Like
Summer or winter?
summer all day, every day.
I'm a winter girl. Would you rather have a good, like, be known for having a good integrity or a good reputation?
I feel like they go hand in hand, really, isn't it? Because integrity leads to good reputation. So yeah, I feel like question really because it's too
It's one
similar.
or the other.
No,
Because you know, like some people care about their reputation and stuff, but then
right.
like it's the image gang out there. Whereas like,
Okay,
do you
right. I see what
actually
you
have
mean. Okay.
integrity? Yeah.
I see the angle you're coming from. Let's say integrity. Never
Okay.
been an image kind of person.
Would you rather be known for smelling good or be known for dressing well?
Why can you have both? So I'm saying
If
like,
would you rather? Thank you.
uh,
It's hard for you, isn't it?
I like to dress well, but I could not imagine dressing well and smelling bad.
Yeah.
That's like an abomination there. So it's like we have a tough one still. How do you?
You're surprised.
I can imagine. I have not have both. I'll take
No.
a shot or something if you can pick one. Um, I
Yeah, I
think
guess if someone naturally had like body odor, they could potentially mask it with a really good oud or perfume or
to be fair, I
something.
feel like dressing well is important, but people will not run away from you for not dressing well.
Mm.
Whereas if you have bad smell, not only are you not well received and well perceived, imagine dressing well, then smelling terrible.
Yeah,
People will run from you. So probably between the two, smelling well is.
I agree. I think that's, yeah, I
Yeah.
didn't think about that. Okay, and then the last one, this
Mhm.
is also another hard one, especially when we bring the faith aspect. Would
Okay.
you rather have wisdom or knowledge?
Wisdom, 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 because you know how to manage information when it comes,
Mm,
and perceive. You have a better perception and better comprehension.
yeah,
So you're able to interpret things. Obviously, one would say that you need knowledge to interpret with wisdom,
yeah.
but at the same time, you can have knowledge and not know how to use knowledge.
Mm,
By wisdom, well, the dictionary says that the ability to utilize
exactly.
knowledge or information,
That application
the
of it.
application of knowledge.
Yeah.
So that's one. So yeah, I think that's ultimate. But you still need the knowledge. I'm not too sure how that
You
works.
dissociate the two.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's all for my would you rather question. Can you see we have a professor in the house?
Ah,
This is like to get very simple. Would you rather pick the first one?
no, because it's not that simple, is it?
But yeah, are you feeling relaxed?
relax.
Yeah, ready to get into it.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So once again, welcome and thank you for being here. So I guess I wanted to us to take it back to the beginning, really, because you said obviously what you do, etc. But what actually first sparked your passion for videography in
Mhm.
film? Was there like a moment or a specific project or a specific thing that made you be like, "This is what I want to do"?
Sure. Yeah. So it was in college in Epping Forest College. I did a bunch of stuff, including philosophy, English language, literature, and then I picked media as well.
Mm.
Because initially I wanted to go into. So I used to write a lot.
Okay.
Because I used, I was studied the Bible a lot,
Mhm.
and I was always thinking about revelation and receiving revelation and furthering my understanding, expanding my spiritual understanding
Yeah.
and theological understanding. So I used to write a lot. So I always thought I would be a writer. So when I went to college, I picked one of the courses, media. Then I
Mhm.
picked English literature, English language, and philosophy. So
Wow.
they're all supposed to kind of go
Yeah,
together. The
yeah, yeah, yeah.
media aspect was so much for the actual publishing side of things.
Okay.
So that's the reason why I picked it. However, we delved more into filmmaking and media.
Okay.
So they put us in a group, did a group project, and yeah, I ended up having to do the majority of the work in the group. And we filmed stuff, and then it came to the editing part. Then I was like, hmm. And in the process, the editing was so good that it kind of covered up for a lot of the things, and we got a very good mark
Okay.
because of the editing. So I was like, I'm quite good at this. I could do this.
Yeah.
So that's where the interest began to develop from. Then, being part of Christ Embassy, we had we have a TV station, Love World TV, which had just started in the UK at that time in the same church building and stuff. And I was in church like 6 times a week around those times. So I thought, why don't I just go there and utilize my skills and expand on my knowledge and learn how to do this stuff properly. So I went there to volunteer for some weeks, and within a few weeks, I was the things that I did while I was volunteering was received so well
Yeah.
that they asked to employ me.
Oh wow.
So yeah, that's from there. Just started from there. Yeah.
It's amazing. And it's amazing how like it literally just all kind of flowed from one thing to the next as well. In terms of like the craft then were you self taught or
Right. Right.
yeah.
Yeah, I did do film and TV production course for uni.
Yeah.
But with this field, you need practical knowledge.
Yeah.
Obviously, you'll be put into groups and you're given assignments.
Okay.
But if you really want to learn, you have to um, find other avenues to
Yeah.
learn.
Yeah.
So you have to try and get yourself on film sets, on productions. You have to look online, look on YouTube. There's a lot of information on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the thing is, with this kind of industry, it's so progressive
Yeah.
and it's very fast paced, and there's a lot of things that will happen quickly.
Yeah.
And if you're not careful, you'll be left behind. So, for example, the uncles that we used to have who used to film like weddings and all these things back in the days with their camcorders and stuff, right now, they are not um, relevant
Yeah.
because they did not update themselves. So
Absolutely.
that's where YouTube and all these things come in.
Yeah.
You can go on YouTube and learn so much.
Yeah.
And there can be a 14-year-old kid who can embarrass you with editing or even with cinematography if you're not careful, because there's just a lot of information, knowledge out there. So you have to find avenues to learn,
Okay.
and it was a combination of all of the above.
Of that. Okay, and then I guess I have a question, more so from a selfish perspective.
Right.
But so there's the editing part, and then there's obviously the actually getting the content, etc.
Right.
Where should one, like myself, for example, who is doing YouTube, etc.,
Yeah.
would I put the emphasis on the quality of the content that I get, and so investing more into the equipment, or would I put emphasis more on
Yeah.
editing?
There's a saying that we say a lot in productions, like 16 posts. 16 posts. And fixing post means that fixing post production as opposed to the thing is there are certain things that you cannot fix in post. And regardless, what happens in production will have an impact on post production. Now,
Yeah.
for example, so I've got a team that I film weddings with, you know, sometimes there are mistakes. And there are a lot of things that may happen and I may, get a bit upset when I'm editing. However, I'm always able to find a way around it most times,
Okay.
right? Because I have to find a way around it because I've got clients and
Yeah.
I cannot give them rubbish work, right?
Absolutely.
However, should they have gotten it right in the first place, that would have made the process easier for me. Then secondly, um, for example, I may have to cover things or hide things. What if I don't have to hide things? The editing will come out a lot better.
Yeah.
So post production, which is the editing part, and the color grading and all those things could cover up a lot and do a lot, but they cannot take the place of certain key things. For example, if lighting is bad and you try to push the image, it will get grainy. There's nothing you can do about it. If the lighting is too low and you try to up the exposure so much in post production in the editing process or color grading, you end up having grainy, unusable footage. That's just if the camera is too shaky, you can only stabilize it so much, right? So um, production has its place.
Yeah.
Having the right equipment and having it's not even about having the right equipment. It's about knowing having someone who knows how to achieve the right look
Mm.
because you can use lower grade equipment
Yeah.
and still achieve the right look. For example, I filmed a music performance recently, and some of the things that I used to control the lighting was like paper, cardboard, and things like that, right?
Okay.
Because that's what I had at hand.
Yeah.
I didn't have necessarily the ideal tools, but because of the knowledge and the experience, I was able to make it work. So it's having a person who knows how to use things is number one.
Yeah.
Number two, having the right equipment. Then
Okay.
number three, having a good understanding link between production and post production. Because sometimes in doing certain projects, you want to prove little things
Right.
to know what their capabilities are,
Okay.
so you know how to do the production for them. So you know, okay, if I do it this way, this person will be able to rectify this, or they can. Someone called me with a project for a music video, and they want to do some animation stuff. So I'm like, who's editing?
Mm.
Because I have an idea of how I can film it and achieve that,
Yes.
but they may not necessarily achieve it that same way.
Yes.
So everything has its place, but it's all linked in a way.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So it's finding that right balance.
that's
I
correct.
really like that because I know that like a lot of YouTubers out there usually say to people are scared to start because they like I don't have the
Yeah,
expensive camera, etc. And so they tell them start, start, start. But
yeah.
in the same breath, you want the right balance with
Mistake.
quality as well that is produced.
Yeah, it depends. When it comes to content, I think the important thing is to start. And then right now, it's very easy to make content.
Yes.
So if you can use your phone, you can use tools, everyday tools, excuse me, that are available, readily available to you on a day-to-day basis. So the important thing is, someone said, "Would you want to get 1,000?" Are you saying that if it's not 1,000, that you will not make any effort? Why don't you, if if you were to get not 1,000, but you got 100,
Yeah.
that's a long way from zero. So why don't you just start instead of not having it? You start, then you build. And in these days, it's very easy to build a brand with social media.
Yeah.
The expectations of productions based on the content is not always as high. If you look at, because people are very much happy to just, if the content is interesting enough and compelling enough, people are excited to watch the actual content, not necessarily how it's wrapped,
That's
right?
true. That's true.
So starting off that way, and then as you grow, you then polish it,
Okay.
and now look at the wrapping and all that stuff, and then that becomes,
Hmm. Taking all these tips for myself.
yeah,
Thank you. Okay, so what is your favorite type of? Is it videography or cinematography?
yeah, we call it, yeah, we're not videographers, we're
Okay.
cinematographers.
Yeah, I want to make sure I use the right term. Yeah.
Now videographers are people that just take a camera and just pan it.
Ah,
But cinematographer filming is different. A cinematographer can take a phone
yeah,
and film,
yeah.
and you know that there is a difference. You're not just swinging
Okay.
around. There is thought to the process. There's framing,
Yeah.
very important. There is control of light or the use of natural light or unnatural light. There is color grading. So there's a lot more thought um, cinematically into the work being done
Okay.
because there are rules and you can break the rules, but you break the rules with intention,
Okay.
and then we call it creativity. Yeah. So
Really?
yeah, so yeah, those different. So we are
Cinematographer.
cinematographers.
Okay, so what's your favorite type of?
Oh, as in work or
Yeah. So like,
or that
would
I
you
like to
prefer?
do.
Yeah, exactly. Do you prefer like filming the weddings
Oh right,
or like you said the
that's an
music?
interesting question.
Yeah.
Uh, so um, a wedding day do 12 hours a day, and it can get quite stressful.
Hmm.
It's a it's hectic. So it's not controlled. There are elements of it that you can control, but it's not controlled because it's like you're documenting something that's happening,
Right.
and then you may have windows of time to have some controlled aspects to the work where you can control shoots and stuff, and even that time is very limited. So you're always, chasing time. So the other types of works where it's more controlled would be preferred
Okay.
because you have time to plan for the shoot
Mm.
and plan the time and control the time. And you can really control the outcome a lot more. You can still control the outcome in a wedding because you've been doing it for a while, so you can see what the challenges are likely to be, and you can advise yourself about the steps to take.
Okay.
However, you can still have an expected outcome, but with control, you have 100% control to be able to control the outcome.
That's
And
what you
and yeah, to be fair, I think that most
prefer.
cinematographers will prefer that
Yeah.
because that's what we like.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. So now I'd kind of like to delve a little bit more into like currently career wise, etc. So obviously running a business isn't easy. So I guess what have been some of the biggest challenges that you faced as an entrepreneur in this industry? And then how do you navigate them?
Okay, some of the or the different categories of challenges in
Hmm.
that one can face, especially in my line of work. You have the challenges within the work itself, um, challenges within resources,
Hmm.
challenges. Part of the resources people as well.
Yeah.
So for like weddings, you have to film with a team.
Yeah.
Even for other kinds of productions, ideally, you would still use a team if you might need lighting, you might need different things. But so that's one category of resources. You can have challenges with people
Hmm.
that you're working with for several reasons. They may not necessarily be on the same page. Um, they may not perform to the level that you expect. Um, you may have to do a lot of training, which takes time. Um, so there's that aspect. There's having the required gear for unexpected circumstances,
Okay.
right? There's also the challenge with dealing with clients, and there's also challenge with dealing with um, managing work out as well. So managing delivery
Okay.
as well. So with dealing with clients, over the years we have to learn many lessons. Learn many lessons in the ways that we handle clients, the different types of people. Um, so protecting yourself,
Hmm.
protecting yourself is very important.
Hmm.
Putting yourself in a position where you are protected
Hmm.
um, is very important. Um, Also, putting yourself in a position where the brand is not negatively affected
Okay.
is another one.
Yeah.
So those are things that we've had to navigate through over the years. Um, yeah. Also, I mean, being self-employed, one of the biggest things is, for example, because we do a lot of weddings, we do other stuff too, but because we do a lot of weddings, the wedding happens with seasons.
Yes.
There are seasons where you have a lot of weddings and
Yeah.
seasons where you have
Okay.
little to zero
Yeah.
weddings. So, for example, from November, October really, but these days, because people have become smart, they realize that venues are cheaper in off peak.
Yes.
So people are not booking venues in off peak, right? So, but now it's so let's say from November down,
Mm.
it gets quieter, then picks back up around let's say from March,
Yeah.
right? So within that period, you are thinking financially. What are your projections, right? You could have been, you can meet your quota for the next year, number wise,
Mm-hmm.
um, by that time,
Yep.
but you always have people who also want to book the same year that they're getting married.
Mm.
So there can be a level of anxiety setting in,
Right.
um, thinking, oh wow, I've only got 10 bookings,
And then
and then when it's getting closer, and then you're probably not getting a lot of inquiries, you can get, because now comparing the numbers from the previous year
mm-hmm.
and thinking by now, then so there is always that uncertainty, a feeling of uncertainty
Right.
with being self-employed, um, and wondering if you'll be able to make the numbers that you have made
Forecasted.
or
Okay.
that you, of course, that you
Yeah.
forecasted. So that's one challenge.
Okay. And actually, just going back to what you said about being self-employed, could you ever see yourself going back to a regular nine to five? Or do you have days where you're like, maybe I just need to be an employee, this is not worth the wahala?
You definitely have days that you're like, you know,
Yeah.
because people that work for me, they do their bit and they go, and sometimes even if they cause the problems,
Yes.
there's only so much I can say,
Absolutely. Yeah.
right? And at the end of the day, ultimately, it comes back to me,
Mm-hmm.
and I still have
It's your
to,
brand. Yeah.
I still have to bear the blunt of wherever the situation is. So yes, when the pressure sets in, when you have clients on your neck, you can be like, let me go back to, it'll be great, but then you catch yourself because the benefits outweigh the
Right.
disadvantages. So you start, you know, you have your moments,
Okay.
but you catch yourself and you move
Catch yourself.
on. That's that.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Okay, and then obviously earlier you touched upon like obviously how fast paced it is as an industry and how you kind of keep your skills sharp or stay creatively inspired.
Right.
Did you want to add anything else to that?
Um. Well, yeah. You maintaining the passion is a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Maintaining the passion. You go from, so most people that do what we do started from passion.
Yes.
When I started and I started working for that TV station, so when I went in, they were teaching. There are people that taught me the basics.
Mm-hmm.
Then I would stay in the office. They'll go home and I'm there till 10 p.m. or afterwards. And I'm on YouTube. As a matter of fact, I learned how to use After Effects by watching a tutorial online. Then I brought my laptop. I'm watching. I'll pause. They'll do something. I'll watch it. Then I'll pause. And I'll do the same thing.
Wow.
Then I'll play. Then I just kept doing that until I was able to do the same project that they did. By the time
Yeah.
I finished, I knew how to use the software,
Yeah.
right? So I pushed myself to learn things. So I would stay till 10 p.m. and later, and then they've gone home like 6 p.m. or so.
Mm-hmm.
But in a month, I was teaching them stuff, right? So that passion is what made me do those things.
Yeah.
Passion for art and the passion to mentor.
Exactly.
Very important. Two things are passion for craft, and then the passion and desire to improve on myself and my
Yes.
skills. So the creativity aspect, after a while, when you've now gotten caught up in the runnings and the routines of a business, can begin to reduce. So you have to make a conscious effort to maintain that passion for the creative side.
Right.
You look at an image and it's a way that you perceive it, and you're thinking, after a while, you just look at it and be like, because you're thinking about, okay, let's just get it done
Exactly.
so we can get the output out.
Yeah,
So yeah, there's a conscious effort to remain passionate about the craft, and there has to be a conscious effort to improve yourself
exactly.
and to encourage or to motivate yourself in that direction for improving. You have to remember that there's a lot of competition out there. A lot of people are very good.
Hmm.
A lot of people are very good, and we're also approaching the advent of we have approached the advent of AI as well, which is also
Hmm.
gonna be a you know
Don't add to that competition. Yeah,
exactly a bit of an
yeah,
interruption to the industry. So it's important to make sure that you're on top of the game at all times.
exactly. And I think from what you're even saying, what I'm also hearing is like with that passion also fueled then your discipline and your focus to
Yeah,
continue to keep going.
yeah,
And just people need to remember that because
yeah.
I feel like a lot of people are very passionate about things, and then when the going gets tough, then they're like,
Mm. Yeah, I mean,
okay,
if if it becomes your livelihood, you don't really have an option. People have too many options in life sometimes, and that's what
hmm,
becomes, it's like, well, I don't need this. But then again, if you've got other sources of income and you're doing it as a passion,
yeah,
that should allow you to have time to improve yourself. Because when you're doing it as your major source of income,
hmm,
um, you are more likely to just want to get it over and done with. When you start off, you have one project, give it your all, have two projects, praise God, four projects, five projects. Once you have tens of projects at once,
yeah,
that's where you begin to go through that phase where you just wanna. Then there's no place and time for passion
mm-hmm.
and creativity. So that's
Mm-hmm.
that's 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 that crossroads. That
Exactly.
what you prayed for now comes to pass. There's a big temptation to then not give it your all. So that's something to look out for.
That's good. That's good. And then I wanted to ask, how did you build your clientele? Like, and also how did you progressively scale up? Because you talked about resources, and you just mentioned it starts with one project, then there's three,
Mm.
4, 5, and then obviously as you continue going, you want to
Yeah.
increase. So, two questions: how did you build your clientele, and what would be practical tips? And then how do you manage with your business's sustainability in terms of scaling up for the demand?
Okay. With like any business, you start off with people that you know.
Mhm.
So I probably didn't do well. I've done some free work. There are times when I said I had to do free work
Okay.
because I had to have something to show people that I'm capable of doing the work.
Mhm.
Um, so I've done different types of free work for people. I've helped out, and I've put myself in positions where I was part of crews to gain experience and to, have the work to show. So that's that. Then, so building clientele infrastructure, people that you know who require your services.
Mhm.
You might charge them a little,
Mhm.
and then hoping that somebody else will see the work, or hoping that you may be recommended.
Yes.
So started off along those lines, and I worked for years while I started
Okay.
until it got to a place where it was time to do this full time.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, that way, then obviously utilizing social media. Even now, I think that has been the best avenue for marketing.
Yes.
Social media. I do a lot of sponsored ads and things like that as well. But within, like, especially for the weddings, when I tell people that I've been doing this for years, for example, how much weddings I did last year,
Mhm.
they scream first because
How many did you do?
oh no, I mean, no, I thought it wasn't that big of a number, but they thought it just made me realize that okay, we are
Doing, yeah, doing
you're,
well.
you're
Yeah.
doing a lot, I mean, so there's that, but yeah, just using different avenues, social
Do you
media.
have referral rates? Is that what they're called? So like for example in like banks and other
Right.
industries, like if I refer someone, then someone can get a little discount
Yeah,
because that's
no,
an incentive.
no, it is. I've run competitions and stuff before as well, but there.
It's because I'm not married yet, so I didn't see the competition. I'm joking.
For the wedding aspect of things, we have some wedding planners that may refer people and we give them commission.
Yeah, yeah.
So that I find that also to be very helpful. As a matter of fact, a lot of
Okay.
weddings that we have received for next year
Yes.
have come through some of the planners and stuff. So
Okay.
yeah, that's also an avenue. You know, networking is important. There are people that just comment because they like the work,
Yeah.
and and also I'm very very particular about branding. For example, everybody must wear uniform.
Yeah. I've
I-
seen that in
I'm
your
very
stories.
very particular about that because when people see, for example, a few weeks ago we went to a wedding, working working working. We've got the comms on, we've got our polo shirts on, we've got the jackets on, and a lady stopped us to take a picture of us. Why? Because I've never seen people doing what you do looking so professional before. So
Wow.
that's the reason why I have to make sure
Mm-hmm.
that we are, you know,
Looking the part.
branded because
Yep.
that's branding working. That's also marketing.
Yes.
So they see us and they're like, okay, cool. These guys are very professional. Conduct is also very important as well. The way that we conduct ourselves, and ultimately the way that we make the client feels.
Absolutely.
For example, weddings, we are obviously cinematographers, but sometimes we end up becoming coordinators and
Wow.
personal assistants and all that stuff. So we, just serving the client to make them feel fulfilled and
Exactly.
satisfied. Because then they would tell someone else that you definitely have these guys. So things like that. Obviously, the quality of the work itself
Mm-hmm.
has to meet a certain mark.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, there's a lot of competition out there. So for someone to forsake all the other cinematographers who are very, very good
Mm-hmm.
and to choose you, there's something that needs to be standing out.
Absolutely.
And so yeah, all these things have helped us to over the years to navigate, to grow, to scale up, yeah, and things like that.
And I think that's so interesting because I was reading something online this week, with people talking about obviously freelance like hairstylists, etc., and how some of them are some of the best, like they've done the best work ever, but then people's experiences have tarnished their brand so much that people then remember that, go and tell that out there to other people who could be potential clients who are like, you know what, I don't want to deal with this,
Yeah.
irrespective of how good your work can be, because of that conduct or the
Right.
way you lack professionalism. I
Mhm.
wouldn't even invest, my
Yeah.
money into that.
Yeah.
So
I mean, like,
yeah.
with business, there are always things that happen. You can always fall short
Mhm.
for one reason or another. With our work, sometimes it's just delivery, especially when you have a lot going on and stuff.
Yeah.
Last year, I had a very difficult year. I lost my
Yeah.
dad, and at the same time, had like the biggest like wedding number of wedding clients ever and stuff. So it was difficult to. So then you just have to find a way to deal with the clients,
Yes.
compensate. What can I do for you
Right.
to make you happier and things of that nature. Do you get
Yeah.
it? So yes, all that stuff to protect the brand.
Yes.
Um, and yeah, just human connection is very important,
Mhm.
and rapport is very important. So
Absolutely.
to build a rapport is important, and to maintain that rapport
Exactly.
is important. The wedding that we did a couple of weeks, no, last week, and we got there literally last week from today. We got there. And, I realized, wait, some of the groomsmen look familiar. I'm like, I've seen you before at somebody's wedding. Well, being at someone's wedding, I was trying to figure out. Then I saw the face of the groom from that wedding, and he was also part of the groomsmen. I
Uh-huh.
was like, oh, it's you. Says, I started screaming. His wife saw me. He said, oh my God. And she's like, family. And
Yeah.
that was good. Imagine if you had a bad experience,
Exactly.
so the rapport was important. Even gave
Absolutely.
the clients more confidence. They're already very happy to book us
Absolutely.
because they love our work, the
Yes.
clients. But in more so seeing their friends' reaction who have already, used our services,
Absolutely.
it just boosted their confidence level in us,
A
you
little
know.
bit more.
So yes, yeah, you have to manage.
Exactly. I just wanted to ask another question with I'm throwing in the spanner. But firstly, once again, my condolences for the passing away of your dad last year. This is your brand, and so ultimately, you explained that you had extenuating circumstances. How have you been able to kind of get to the stage where you can confidently put a commander in chief or someone in charge in your
Yeah,
absence and trust
yeah,
that they will still uphold
yeah,
that business as you would.
yeah. That's the challenge with this kind of with the creative business because the business is pretty much based on your abilities and capabilities.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you decide to scale up, so that's something that I've tried to do for the past couple of years, and it's come with a lot of challenges
Mm-hmm.
and difficulties
Yeah.
because I've tried to bring in the filming part is fine. I can teach people how to film very easily.
Yes.
So I brought in people that I literally turn and they cut on them, then polish every now and then here, which is fine. The editing aspect. First, you could give someone a template or an example of how you want things to be edited. Firstly, they must be able to edit and have the ability to do it in the first place. Then,
Mm-hmm.
secondly, um, they have to have a creative mind that can think in a way similar to. So that's where things get a bit difficult when it comes to scaling up. I utilized a few external or a few editors last year. I tried, and yeah, some of them got me into some serious situations where I had to, try to manage a few things. Um, so that is the challenge with our line
Absolutely.
of work
Absolutely.
when it comes to that aspect, post production in particular. Obviously, if you were to hire, like for example, like films, if you're a director and you hire an editor and all this stuff, that's different. But with weddings now, it's
Mm-hmm.
a whole different situation because there's no
Mm-hmm.
budget
Yeah.
separately for an editor, right? So even you paying an editor, you're losing money. So you have to be able to pay an editor that you can afford
Okay.
and still keep your profit or have a good enough
Somewhat.
profit
Yeah.
margin.
Yeah.
If not, there's no point doing that wedding,
Yeah.
right? Because you're paying people to film, you're paying people to edit. So how much money is left over that will go back to the business and pay
Mm-hmm.
yourself, right? So you have to think about all those things. So yeah, for we've got a large team now. I've got photographers, I've got cinematographers, and sometimes we can be in three places at the same time. I
Mm-hmm.
could be doing a corporate job. We could have two weddings on the same day, so we could split ourselves up in such a way
Okay.
that we have three teams in different places.
Okay.
So in that aspect, that is working well. And I personally will have to, go through things with hands-on with people when they join the team, so there's uniformity because at the end of the day, the work has to represent me,
Absolutely.
well, the brand, but I am the brand essentially
Mm-hmm.
because it's my skills that have
Mm-hmm.
laid, given the outlook what the brand is supposed to look like. So I have to make sure that that's matched. If somebody can add on top of it, and
Right.
in cases they do, for example, my second official second shooter, he's also film director and all that stuff. So he has his own creative ways. And sometimes I look at him like, okay, I probably would not have thought of that. So
Mm.
that's good. So
Mm-hmm.
he's added to it. But
Okay.
even him, I had to translate to weddings because they're all
Okay.
different
Yeah.
types of work. How to coach a bit and whatnot. But people add on to it. But you have to make sure that at least the mark is being met, and you
Exactly.
you you have to set the bar and maintain that bar with whoever. So yeah,
That's been the challenge.
yeah. For in some aspects, it's
Yes.
been easy. In other aspects, like post production, that's where it becomes a bit more of a challenge.
Okay.
But we're getting there. It
Okay.
just means if you want to grow, you yourself cannot. For example, imagine like when I do 100 weddings, you can't edit all that stuff. There's 52 weeks in a year.
Absolutely.
Um, I don't even think about 52. 52. Well, you cannot do everything yourself.
Mm-hmm.
It's physically impossible
Possible.
because the creative mind also needs to calibrate.
Right.
Um, Moving from project to project, you burn out
Mm.
and you have what you call creative block.
Look. Yeah.
So you want to, and you don't want to also lose the passion of focus too much on delivery. So
Exactly.
you want to space it out. So to be able to do more, you need to scale up. So
Exactly.
that trust eventually has to be there, but finding the right people comes with its challenges, and eventually you may be able to have one or two that you can depend on,
Mm.
and that's where we're getting. I have a couple of people that I could at least trust.
Okay.
And yeah, but it's been a long journey getting there.
Of course. Of course. Okay. So my last question about weddings, because I love talking about weddings.
Yeah.
So I guess how do you ensure that each project feels fresh and unique? So you talked about how happy that couple was, and then they're attending their friend's wedding, etc. But how to ensure that there's a specific vision each time that is unique and that really the couple is happy?
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. So most times
Mm-hmm.
or sometimes our booking process is quite simple. So you send an inquiry, we respond to the brochure, then you may say, "Oh, I've seen your work already. I love your work. Let's go ahead." Or can we jump on a call? We'll have a Zoom meeting. So should we go to a Zoom meeting or a call, then we can have a rapport,
Mm-hmm.
then we can have an understanding of each other. Most times that's what may happen. Sometimes you just get in the right information.
Yes.
So that will give you an idea of um, the vibe of the couple.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they may have their own view. They're likely the people that would want to jump on the call,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because they
To tell you this is what
yeah,
you want.
because they want to be sure that you can achieve what they want. I actually don't mind this. Obviously,
Okay.
sometimes because you think that's a difficult client, but actually not necessarily,
Mm-hmm.
because if you can tell me what you want, that makes my job easy. It means then I know what to work on achieving for you.
Right.
The ones who are not able to articulate what they want, but that's not what I want. I hate that.
It's like you don't have a vision, but what I'm providing you with, you're
But
just
yeah, do you
yeah,
understand? Because that wastes everybody's time.
yeah.
So I actually don't mind the ones that know what they want. So there's that ones who know what they want, ones that you just have a conversation with and you can feel their vibe.
Okay.
A month to the wedding, we will always do send a form. Part of the form is to get information, technical information,
Mm-hmm.
locations, logistics. Also, we ask for the schedule for the day. If anything special has happened, at least we're aware so we can get an idea.
Yes.
We may have, they will send us songs
Okay.
that they like.
Okay.
That also can give you an indication.
Yeah.
And then there's a place where they can fill in and put further information. Some of them even put links to examples and stuff. So it's just to get as much information as possible. And then sometimes you might have to jump on the call again.
Yes.
So all those things helps us either for them to communicate to us or for us to be able to feel them out, to see the vibe. And once
Exactly.
you feel the vibe, then okay. We've had a client who was like, okay, I want it to be like a TV program
Right.
because we filmed his sister's wedding
Yes.
and we brought that aspect into it, but he wanted it to take it a step further.
Okay.
So at some point, I had to get the whole team on a call with him just so that we are all on the same page. And that was good, and he loved it. And to today, we did it like maybe the first sight. That's how we shot it
Oh,
and edited it. Yeah.
okay.
So that was very clear,
Very specific.
specific. So we followed those that idea, and we loved it. Challenge, well, wasn't really a challenge because that's my background.
Yes.
Background is television,
Yes.
so that was back to my normal territory. So that
Mm,
was good, even though it wasn't as controlled. However, that was good for me. I liked it.
exactly.
Yeah, and last thing is on the day, you can also feel the vibe.
Okay.
See how the day is going. See the vibe with the bride and groom. See, okay, this bride is a bit lively. This groom is a bit calm. It just gives you an idea of okay, this is how it's likely to come out. So let's follow this.
Exactly. Go with the flow.
Yeah.
Okay. So balancing the personal and professional can be very tough, you can imagine. Especially when you're constantly creating for others and then you're also very involved with church. You obviously have your circle of people as well who you often pull into, etc. So I would like to ask, how do you kind of balance being present for people around you, fulfilling your
Mhm.
professional responsibilities, also pouring back into yourself and recuperating when necessary.
Uh, well, any business in general consumes your time and consumes your life.
Mm-hmm.
That's just what happens. So it will consume a big part of your life. However, you can still live. You have to build things around, you know, um, what you do.
Yeah.
So personal life, yeah, I, for example, this year I was hoping that by now I'd have taken a break because not, especially like with the weddings, you do the edits, everything, then done, and a short break to recharge, renew your vision,
Mm-hmm.
and then but I've not been able to have a break like that. I've been editing wise going ongoing until this year came and this year's one started and still going. So, but I will need to take a break regardless.
Mm-hmm.
Just like when you're learning how to drive, say pull over when it's safe to do so.
Yeah.
Take a break when it's safe to do so, right?
Mm-hmm.
But definitely need to every now and then take a step back. There's
So you
something like
don't burn out.
exactly something I call fresh eyes.
Yeah.
But when you're editing and then it looks, then just going on for hours and like you're doing something and the next day it comes like, what did I do?
Yes.
What is all this? Because your mind just got too accustomed to what's happening. So taking a break is important.
Mm-hmm.
Having fresh eyes is important. Learning, like I said, continuously learning new things and practicing. Learning is not just looking at something or listening to something. It's in practice. We learn practically, right? So you want to learn something, you have to take the camera, go and shoot something,
Mm-hmm.
and practice what you're learning on the go. You want to learn a new software, a new, you have to literally, you're seeing, okay, this and that, okay, what can I create with it? That's how you then learn. So it's time. You have to give time to yourself to improve. Socially, yeah, I've forced myself to do social activities, irrespective of how busy I am,
Mm-hmm.
just to get myself back and not get too lost into um, creating or
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because a part of your output is dependent on your person. As a matter of fact, it's very heavily dependent on your person.
Mm-hmm.
So the quality of a person will determine the quality of your work.
Yeah.
And the things that make up you as a person is all these different aspects: family, friends, obviously spirituality, God,
Exactly.
church. And as a Christian, obviously, serving is important.
Yes.
So, like I mentioned, last year was a lot, even with all that going on, and still having big numbers of work, which everything felt like a challenge. I was so involved in church that I literally, we're moving to a new building. With these two hands, I literally built the backdrop,
Mm-hmm.
did all the connections, the lighting, the connections, all that stuff. And I'd never done that before. I had to go online and learn how to
Mm-hmm.
do all those things. But in the midst of some of the busiest and most difficult periods of my life, I gave time and prioritized doing that because I understand the importance of me serving God and making sacrifices for
Exactly.
God and being involved in God's work.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I love that. I'm hearing flexibility, adaptability, patience,
sacrifice means
sacrifice, a lot of
yeah,
sacrifice,
you have
but
to do
also
sacrifices. Yeah,
prioritizing. Yeah, it sounds like you're doing a lot of sacrificing.
sacrificing to be flexible.
Yeah,
You have to sacrifice to be present.
exactly.
So it is, but just understand what you're sacrificing for.
Worth. Okay. And then obviously you mentioned church. And so I know that your faith and God are really at the core. And so I wanted to know, have there been any bookings that you've ever had to refuse because they conflicted with your values?
Not yet,
Okay.
not
Touch
yet.
wood.
I think, yeah, not yet. From the wedding aspect, not yet. I mean, I don't normally work on Sundays, as in like film on Sundays. I'm
Yeah.
normally in church. There are some occasions where I might take, either because I didn't pay attention to the date, I didn't realize what day it was, because they book in advance. I mean,
Yes.
so either I didn't realize what day it was, or circumstances
Mm,
demanded, and I obliged because of maybe compassion or empathy or something.
exactly.
But ideally, I don't take bookings on
Sunday.
Sundays, or at least not in a time that would conflict.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. And then earlier as well, you talked about obviously when you first started in your business, some of the work that you would do either at discounted rates or for free to obviously get the word out there and the recommendations. But then now that you're established, have you ever found yourself in a situation where whether it be family, friends, church expecting things for free, and then how do you maneuver that?
You want to be honest, or
Yeah, I want you to be honest, because there may be people out there who are like in that
to be
situation.
fair, so that is one of the traps that we fall in once again because of compassion and empathy. People that you know come to you for, and oh, all right, all the sweet talks, begging and all that stuff, and you're like, okay, no problem. I will then you do it close to nothing.
Mm-hmm.
But the issue is, even if they pay you £1, the story is not, oh, he gave it to me almost for free. The
Yes,
story is, I've paid
I've
him.
paid. Yeah.
So you have people that are paying full price and people that are paying half price. I find that more time people that are paying half price feel even more entitled
Yes.
than the people paying full price.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, if you ask any creative, people that pay full price are the easiest people to deal with than people that pay less, that you give discounts to, because especially because of personal connections and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, there's been a fair share of that, but that's down to compassion and empathy,
Okay.
and sometimes loyalty. That, well, you think you're being loyal, but obviously it's not
Mm-hmm.
reciprocated. Obviously, um, an agreement is an agreement. If whether you agree to do for free or not, as long as you agreed, you agreed. So that's a
Exactly.
principle. However, it's important to understand courtesy. And in this line of work, is what is done comes from the heart.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm to do an edit, even to film, the creativity comes from the heart, doesn't come from. There is a science of it, of the work. There is the textbook of the work,
Mm-hmm.
but creativity is within.
Mm-hmm.
So the more creative you want the person to be, the less you want to pressure and show the person. So that's probably an advice for people who have who employ or who use creative vendors. You
Mm-hmm.
want to stress the person as less as possible, because then they would not be able to give you what they possibly could.
Absolutely, because obviously that relationship now
They
becomes
just want to get the
very,
work to you so that they
yeah,
don't have to do it again. So
exactly.
they just want to do an acceptable
Mm-hmm.
standard of work
Yep,
and give that to you, because who is to say what the best should be?
exactly.
It doesn't exist.
Yep,
It only exists in the mind, and it
exactly.
exists in the effort the person has put.
Yep,
So you cannot say, oh, I expected, or you didn't. You can. How do you quantify that? There's no such thing. You just, do you have the work? Okay. Is it structured? Yeah. Are there technical issues? No. Um, is it, does it meet the mark? As far as you're concerned.
I hear.
Yeah. So yeah, you get into those situations with those kind of clients.
Not easy.
Every year I tell myself that I'm not doing that again, because I don't want to put myself in that situation. It
Absolutely.
ruins relationships,
Exactly.
because you would bend over backwards, but they can be quite pushy and stuff, and you don't want to have to deal with.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I really love that. Suppose two last questions. So the first one would be for anyone out there who is starting in your industry or even as an entrepreneur, what would be your last gems of wisdom you have for them and also potential encouragement?
Mm. Um, learn. Just keep learning. Don't stop learning. Don't lose the desire to learn,
Mm-hmm.
because there will be the temptation. You will not have time. For example, the software that I wanted to start using
Yeah.
to edit as my main editing tool, and I was like, in the down times, in the quiet times, there's no quiet time, so it now becomes difficult to. And I want to make that switch very badly. So you have to, you know, create that time to learn.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Even just like, for example, something as simple as poses, lighting. If you're a cinematographer, you need to understand lighting. You don't have to be a gaffer. A gaffer is a lighting tech. Um,
I'm
person
not
that
saying yes as if I know. I don't.
no, no, he's a person that does lighting.
Yeah.
So he would come with a track full load of things that are relevant to the
Yeah.
job. Um, you would not have that because you're not a gaffer. However, you need to understand the basic principles of lighting so that you can achieve that looks. That's part of the reason why you're called a cinematographer, because you control the lighting as well as the framing and all those things, right? So have that understanding. If you don't, go on YouTube. It goes back to being the person, the right person, not necessarily having the best of the
Right.
equipment, but having the right person. So being the right person who is able to turn any situation into production. So that's important. And then marketing, you know, branding is important.
Mm.
Branding, social media is there to use right now. Things that you can get viral things. You know, people make viral videos, not that stuff. Get as much experience as possible. Um, network. So you have people because somebody may get a job, they may not be able to do it. I have
I see.
friends that I had opportunities that I was not available for. I gave it to them. Now, they've years after they are still working with those people,
Well,
and those people have introduced them to other people, and then so
exactly.
is so someone may have an opportunity, they may not be available to do it, but they can recommend you
Exactly.
to
Which
do
goes
it.
back to what you said in terms of like the importance of relationships,
Exactly,
building and maintaining those.
relationships, yeah, but also learn to protect yourself at all points. Just be sober, understand
Mm.
what the implications of certain things are, so that you are protected.
Okay.
Put things, especially in dealing with clients,
Yeah.
let them know how many revisions they can get
Yeah.
because they will assume that they can keep coming. Give them a timeline. You have to get back to me within 7 days for a revision. Tell them how long to expect. Something important. As you get busier,
Absolutely. To manage
then
expectations.
try to understand what it is that they want
Right.
as much as possible so that you don't build a car or build a story building not knowing that they actually wanted a bungalow or build a bungalow
Mm.
not knowing that they're expecting a townhouse,
Right.
right?
Right.
So it's important to have that communication, that understanding, and then that will drive every other decision. Clients don't know. You have to assume they actually don't know. There are some that know, they'll communicate that to you.
Mm-hmm.
But assume that clients actually have no idea, so explain everything to them so that they understand, so that by the time that conversation takes place, it's not too late.
Okay. Thank you. And then my last question is, what kind of legacy do you hope to leave behind with your work?
Oh, that's a
Yeah.
good question, actually. Uh, well, as a Christian, from the age of 16, knew what my vision has been in life, and that has driven me to different things that I've done um, from early. And um, I just want to fulfill God's purpose for my life. Ultimately, that's the goal. I'm not probably not going to discuss what the purpose is here. Well, so yeah, I want to fulfill God's purpose. I want to do touch lives
Mm-hmm.
how He wants me
Mm-hmm.
to bring them to an understanding of themselves, an understanding of Him, and to um, empower people, inspire, motivate, and empower.
Mm-hmm.
So inspire, see something, you get aspirations, you see something that makes you want it to be, then you now get given a motivation, a reason why you must be that thing,
Mm-hmm.
and then the tools and the resources that you need to become that thing, even including you becoming the better person. So these are some of the things that since I was young, I call it
Inspired.
I inspire, motivate, empower.
Mhm.
So through obviously these are also part of the reasons why I go into the field I'm in. I wanted to, for example, before I went to college, I was thinking of what if this campaign was just positive messages on billboards
Mm-hmm.
on the tube everywhere. Have people see, because if you get enough information thrown at you so much, it would eventually get into your soul,
Absolutely.
enter your spirit, and you find yourself conforming to becoming those things that you're seeing. Said repetition is the law of deep and lasting impression. So if you expose yourself enough to whatever,
Yeah.
you will eventually begin to manifest it. So let's put information out there. So that was part of the things that drove me to the field. And then obviously with what I'm doing, then we have the opportunity to create things that will positively impact people.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
And be alive.
yeah,
Ultimately. I
yeah,
love that. I
yeah.
love that. Well, thank you so much
Thank you.
for once again coming to share all this wisdom with us today. I
Thank
hope
you.
that it blessed someone out there or all of you guys who are tuning in today. And as always, please show your love and your support by giving this video a thumbs up, subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Leave your comments below. Tell me what you like the most about what Jeremiah shared today, or what's been your favorite part of the graduate series, or if you have any questions for him that are specific, please drop it below and I will drag him in the comment section to come and answer. So yeah, thank you so much guys for tuning in. Thank you so much Jeremiah for
My
being
pleasure.
here. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.